Hello, welcome to Flooring Models Kit Review Time. Today we've got Special Hobbies 1/48 scale. So this is the Fairey Firefly Mk.4 5 in Raw Navy and the Raw Australian markings. And to be honest, I have to say I'm a little bit biased here. You know I love my naval aircraft, and obviously the Raw Navy markings like this I think is sort of the definitive one for it. So seeing this particular aircraft and these markings, it was a must one. So this is actually the Korean War version of it, okay, right the way through. So a quick run through the box, as you can see. Not too much on this one, being Special Hobby. We can see obviously a little bit on there. So your kit number is SH, or Special Hobby, 48136. Okay, a little bit on the back side, a little bit on there. It's their standard type boxes. You don't tend to get too much in there. So if we have a look in the box, we'll just stick that up there if it's going to sit. Nothing wants to sit here today. There we go. Okay, if you haven't done Special Hobby before, don't think mass Tamiya or anything else like that. It's almost like they're bordering between limited run type kit. That'll stay. Limited run kit, but what you do get is loads of little goodies with it. So you always get a little bit of resin and various things. The markings are always absolutely beautiful and everything else like that. So anyway, let's have a look. Starting off with our very low-key instructions. There's a little booklet. As you can imagine, there's different versions of this particular kit out there. So that's why you're going to get some lines through things, because obviously they're not going to be used for this particular one. So looking down at your instructions, familiarise yourself completely with some of the parts that you are going to be using, and definitely the ones that you're not, because obviously there is overlaps. Like props, just make sure you get the right ones around the right way. I know it might seem simple, but we've all been there. Okay, so straight off of the bat into the cockpit, as you can, I might imagine. So you're making out the actual cockpit area, the usual suspects of bulkheads, control columns, levers, switches, things like that, as those all go down in there. Also, some various parts going to be going on the sidewall as well for the pilot and the sort of the observers areas as well, right the way through, and then obviously making your way through. So we've got some various clear parts being put in there for the gun sights, things like that, and then obviously front and rear cockpits being fitted in. Colour call-outs are all done by AB and that, but obviously at the front somewhere I do believe. There we go, we've got colour call-outs down there in guns, but to be honest they're pretty much your standard RAF and Royal Navy colours right the way through the kit anyway. So that's all those bits being fitted in there. The wing sections, as you imagine, just two slabs going together. Those big old radiators in the front being fitted down into there, and then obviously you've got the intakes for the radiators being fitted in, and then the section coming up. Wheels, as you can imagine, right the way through, they are plastic wheels, as in injection molded and not resin, so you've got those parts being fitted down in there as well. But obviously just making sure you get your line up for the actual pin marks being fitted in. Wheels being fitted, as you can imagine, straightforward on there like that, and then going through all the motions of putting everything in. So you've got the actual arrestor cable being fitted in the bottom, colour call-outs of painting as you make your way through, and then you've got the catapult hooks being fitted to the front on there. The radar going onto the actual wing system down in there as well, and then obviously the cannons being fitted, and then you've got your weapons loadout, so depending obviously what you wanted to fit it with, but if you're going to go with rockets, things like that, those being fitted on there. Prop section being fitted in there. Canopy looks like it's one piece, so you're not going to be able to have it in the open position. And then you've got your markings. So obviously you've got your call-outs for your different markings on there, and this is what we were saying. You know me, I love that sort of invasion stripe colours or the identification markings. Really nice to see it down on this one as well. And with that sort of, you know, light cream colour underneath, or the sky colour, looks absolutely beautiful. But there is just something about extra dark sea grey and then sky. It just works so well together. And again, some more markings down there for all the different ones, as you can see, and some of their other stuff, as you can imagine. So the bag turns up literally like this. It's just one giant bag. So what we'll do, we'll try and get our way down in here. That's obviously what we've got. So we've got a beautiful resin section just down for the wheel wells. Again, it's going to take a little bit of chunking around, but it's got some arrows for directionals, things like that on there. It's pretty standard, but it just adds a nice level of detail. And we've actually got some very nice, although they're not that hollow, they are slightly hollowed out exhaust, but you've got the weld lines through them, which is a nice touch as well. So you do get a little bit of resin with it. Somewhere in here is a little bit of photo etch. So down here, this is actually the mounting for the rocket pods being fitted to the wings in photo etch. And then we got the decals. Now the decals, again, we won't worry about getting them out, to be honest, but you know, they can be a little bit finicky. Just take your time with them. Make sure they soak in some warm water. It's just in the past I have had them crack on me, but I think that's just probably me being a little bit overzealous with them and trying to get them off. So let them come off in their own time, I think, is the secret. But as you can see, very nice, good, solid colours right the way through. The white is a little bit opaque, if we're honest. It's not the most solid white down on there, but I think, you know, it will may be useful just to put the white underneath and then put the decal on the top, then the red on the top. Let's just say that. Okay. Right, so the parts. Now, as we said before, think limited run, but actually they're getting better. Better and better and better. Some nice details on these, and always I see them as sort of, you know, the starting point. The details are all there, they're all recessed, they're very, very nice. It just tends to be, when you feel the kit, it just has that feel of lesser quality, shall we say, things like that, but it is what it is, okay? So, down on here, as you can see, if we, I'll tell you what, I'll start over here. So starting down on the tail, you can see we've got some nice details moulded in here with that fabric. It looks like we've got an ejector pin or something. There's a little round mark in the actual moulding of it just down there my finger is. The camera's going to pick it up, but I can see it. Okay, but generally as you look along here, you can see we do have some nice rivet panel details, panel linings, all pretty good right the way up. And as you can see, we've got the actual riveting all the way down on the wing section, all the parts. It's just that the entire mould isn't your high quality sort of, you know, polished mould. But again, down here in the middle, working our way along, you can see we've got the floor details, the intake details, and then various things, and actually some nice framework details on these as well. They're actually very, very nicely done. Top of the, or the bottom of the cowl, that's the top one I think, some nice little louvedour into those in the bottom. But the thing is, when you come into the inside, you can see we don't actually have any locating tabs whatsoever. Always the sign of a limited type run kit, but again, mediocre, but it almost has that feel of resin, but it's not. It's actually injection molded. Okay, but again, some people prefer not having locating tabs, and actually I have to agree, it's easier just to line it up in your own way than it is sometimes with having tabs get in the way, because tabs can get fouled and things like that. We have got, as you see, a little bit of detail just down here on the inside, but some of these little ejection ports, you might need to take them out, okay, and just sand them down, make them a little bit more flush. But generally, as you can see, on these kits, you always get a blind side, so there's no real detail on this side, okay? So that's the thing, but generally, it's all practical, it is there, and it can work. Okay, radars. So these are the little radar lumps, I do believe, for on the wings. The fairings for those. Again, different types there, so just make sure you get the right ones. Rocket pods. So actually you've got the rocket systems down on these, as you can see. Very nicely done. And we've got the drop tanks, although I'm not sure it carries those. Okay, and that's a match pair, so we've got two of those. Let's have this one. So the wing section, again, looks a little bit scratchy and I don't know, just not exactly as nice as perhaps you've seen. But when you get down here on the close-up, as you can see, it is all there. Really some nice details and perhaps a little bit of polish around. By the time it's had a primer, things like that, you're going to end up with something very nice. You can see you got a little bit of flash just down here on the trailing edge, but that's really easy to deal with. And then this other wing, as you can see it down on there, and then making your way one piece on the bottom. So you've got that big plug of resin that's going to fit in here from the inside, but as you can see, no drop flaps or anything like that. It is all going to be molded up, and obviously we don't I assume this has got wing fold. This has the wing fold that it sort of rotates and goes back, so you haven't got that option either. But again, this is what it is. Inside, as you can imagine, it's pretty devoid of all details whatsoever. But the radiators are nice. Got a little bit of flash just down in this radiator. Again, just watch out for flash and items. Test fitting with this kit will save you a mountain of work. Okay, if you test fit it, you can identify areas that need a little bit of attention. Take care of those nice and early, and you'll be fine. Again, a little bit flashy. We've got plenty of flash on this particular sprue. We've got bits down in here. The props are covered in it and everything else. But this is all to be expected with this one. So again, looking around at some of the parts. Some of these props, obviously, don't forget you're not going to use. But again, catching the tail planes in the light. Various things on there. Some nice little details down in these as well. They are all there. Okay, different types of spinner. This obviously has got the more dome type ones, but these blades again are very thick and meaty. They're going to need a little bit of sanding, a little bit of shaping, things like that. Different types of tails as well for different versions, so just make sure you have got the right ones. The cannons, again, different types of cannons on this one. things like that. So yeah, and again, blind side, as you might imagine down here, this is just flat, so you just squash it together. So just take your time when you're shaping around the edges and things like that. Okay, but again, at least you don't have any pin marks on this to actually fold them up together, things like that. But generally, as you can see, a little bit of work required. Okay. Down on the last sprue down in here, so this actually is quite a nice one. I've got all the little details, and this is where it's going to make it pop. So actually, instrument panels, things like that, very nice raised details. Nice to pick them out. And again, by the time I spent a little bit of time doing some little bit of work on those to liven them up, I don't think you have any problems at all. And then again, this is the undercarriage mechanics, things like that. Some more of those cannons down on there. And okay, some of them may be a little bit bent and need a little bit of work because that guy's had a bit of a hard life. The wheels, again, as we were talking about, injection molded, two-piece hub door can. This is very burring as well. You've got huge joins as well, so when you're joining things up, just be mindful of that as well. It's going to need a little bit of work. And again, on the blind side, nothing really going on, but we do have some nice details, as you can see, down on the inside for the actual which is actually really nice because it hasn't got any ejector pins or anything in there. So some nice details down in here on the inside of the undercarriage doors. Both sides clean, nicely done, no problem at all with that as you make your way through. Clear parts, little baggie. To be honest, the clear parts aren't too bad as a rule. And again, shame it's not, we can't have it in the open position. It's going to need a dip. I would dip it, as you can see, it's a little bit frosty. That's a very complex shape to actually mould in one. But I think they've probably nailed it, in all honesty. No problem. And again, a little bit of masking work going to be needed, but it is all raised detail, so it's easy to put your tape on, cut it afterwards, and then obviously just peel out the framework and then paint it. I don't think you have any problems with that. And again, a little bit of flash on some of the parts, but generally I think that's pretty acceptable of what it is. So there you go, that is it. That is your Firefly. It's one of those kits where it's not for a beginner. You have to sort of accept what it is. It is a limited run kit. So with that, you are going to get its shortcomings, but also you're going to get the little extras. Okay, you do get a little bit of resin down in there. You've got some great markings and you've got options with the kit as well. I always take these kits as what they are, and that is a limited run. It's a company which is on limited funding. They can only make so many of them, but it gives you a really nice, interesting subject. So from that point of view, I forgive all its shortcomings because you just appreciate you're going to have to put a little bit of work in. And when we say a little bit of work, we're not saying that this is an unbuildable kit and it's not going to go together and it's going to be a real problem. It's just you are going to need a certain set of skills in modelling, which all of us have. So you are going to probably need a little bit of filler. A little bit of rescribing work, a little bit of re-riveting work, generally tidying up the model before you're ever going to get near paint. You may have a few little fit issues as well, just trying to get things to line up and go through. But if you've got basic modelling skills, it's nothing that you can handle. And then you're going to end up with something that isn't mainstream. There isn't your normal, AAA companies out there making this type of kit. So it's really nice when Special Hobby come along and take the time to do the somewhat forgotten aircraft, things like that. So from my point of view, it's a beautiful kit and an absolute must.